Good morning and welcome wherever you are to the 31st Orkney International Science Festival. We're online again this year, which is a special one as it marks the 25th anniversary of our collaboration with the Slovenian Science Foundation. That's a link that's brought Orcadians to Slovenia and Slovenians to Orkney and a wealth of projects and developments and friendships. And to mark that 25th anniversary and to look to the future, this year's festival will be jointly opened by two people at the start of their careers, one in each country. In Scotland, we have Dr. Gavin Woodbridge from North Ronaldsay, who graduated earlier this year in medicine from Edinburgh University. In Slovenia, there is Dr. Zarja Muršič, who is a science journalist, as well as teaching cognitive science at the University of Ljubljana. So, a warm welcome to you both. And Gavin, if I could start by asking you a couple of questions. First of all, about a medical course. It's known among all students as a very long one with much work. And can I ask why you chose it?
Thank you, Howie. That's a really good opening question. And as a late teenager at school doing relatively well in my exams, I sold medicine to myself as an ambitious course and one where you could learn lots of really fascinating things about the human body and so on. But now I see it as quite a unique profession where you're allowed to apply such knowledge that you learn in your textbooks and in your lecture halls to a job where you really have a unique relationship with people and you get to aid people and care for people in vulnerable parts of their lives when they're in ill health, and it can be very rewarding. I'd be lying if I didn't say I take great inspiration from my late father, who was a GP in Orkney for many years and laterally led the acute medical team at the Belfort Hospital in Kirkwall. And also the appeal of the work is that wherever you go in the world, there'll always be a need for a doctor.
Now, indeed, I was thinking of all the work your father did, and there's a question that many doctors must ask themselves at some stage when they're choosing where the next step is in their career. Would it be a rural area or would it be an urban area? And I wondered what thoughts you would have on that.
There are many advantages and disadvantages to working in both urban and rural areas, and many doctors choose to work in urban areas. But for me, my first posting is actually at Caithness General Hospital in Wick, which is a rural general hospital, which presents its own challenges and type of practice where you could have really any medical surgical complaint come through the front door, and you have to be willing to think generally, to think innovatively and laterally sometimes, because you really have to be a medical generalist. And the challenge that this presents in practice can be equally, if not more, rewarding than the challenges of urban practice, in my view.
And a further thought going to North Ronaldsay again, because of course you come from the bird observatory there, and then at Edinburgh you were a founding member and the president of the university's Ornithological Society. So can I ask, Gavin, I'm guessing that bird watching is something really special for you.
Yes, absolutely, Howie. And I'm a keen birder and bird ringer, and I take my pair of binoculars more or less everywhere I go. And I think that it's a really fascinating thing to get involved with, because you can watch and observe one of the most charismatic animal species in an ecosystem, which provides many services to that ecosystem. You can do it anywhere in the world. You can record and submit your sightings to your local recorder. And these records can be of great value to conservationists with long-term data and trends in population movements. You really get in tune with the environment around you and which bird species are arriving and departing at different times of year on their migrations, and also following the fates and fortunes of birds during the breeding season as they hastily raise their youngsters through the spring and summer months. And I must say the thrill of seeing a rarity or seeing a new characteristic or behavior in birds, it never fails to surprise me.
Oh, that's a wonderful picture you're painting. And if I can now go over to Zarya and ask about your background. Now, I know it's in cognitive science, but then also it's developed into an additional career as a freelance science journalist. And I wonder what started that.
Yes, actually, it wasn't the cognitive science. It was the wonders of biology, as Gavin just explained now about birds, which is just one part. But I was just, for my undergrad, I studied biology, and I wanted to share the wonders and everything I learned with the world. And at the same time, I never really liked writing. So somehow I decided to practice my writing through a science blog. So I created a science blog about biology. And then after a while of like creating this content, I actually started enjoying it, and I decided to join a small Slovenian radio station where I created some science shows and also podcasts, and I started hosting also different science conversations and science events in Slovenia.
Well, I know that you received an award from the Slovene Association of Journalists for your pandemic coverage, and I wonder what kind of aspects of the pandemic have you been writing about?
In the beginning, just when the pandemic started, actually, I was a science editor at this radio station. And with our team, we realized that this is going to be a topic that we will probably be covering at least for a year. Now we see it's even for 2 years, unfortunately. And in the beginning, we mostly focused just on like biology aspect of it. So virology, immunology, and try to explain these basic things about viruses to general public. We also try to present viruses in a bit broader terms, not just coronaviruses, but also some viruses that might be useful in our environment. But then later on, I mostly focus on trying to understand these strange times. And I started valuing more also the perspective from maybe cognitive sciences a little bit has this background as well in more humanities and social sciences. And I try to explain to people what is actually happening in these strange times, because when there is a pandemic, it actually includes all people and everyone, and the virus can spread only with our behavior. And I try to do this like a broader context to present pandemic to people and to somehow make sense of this world and times. And
you're a graduate of the University of Ljubljana. Since November, you've been teaching there, but I think your PhD, in fact, was in England at Durham University. And I wonder, did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, I really liked. I lived in Durham for 3 years during my PhD, and I really liked to study there. I was working in the field of evolutionary anthropology, especially from a smaller field, cultural evolution. I was interested in how children actually learn from one another and how that impacts their creativity and what does that mean for future. But during that time, I was also really active in science communication in the college. I was part of Café Scientific, and we organized college science days and science events, and I made a few really good friendships there.
Well, our opening talk, in fact, this year is going to come from Durham just in a few minutes' time at 11:15 this morning. But first, we need a few words from each of you to open this year's festival. So, Gavin, it's over to you.
Thank you again, Howie, and I'd just like to thank you all and for the invitation to speak today, and to everyone who's attending these events. The Orkney Science Festival is a wonderful thing, and it gives me great pleasure to, alongside Zarja, to declare this festival open.
Thank you, Howie, and thank you, Gavin. And I will just add a few words. So I, as a science journalist and also as a scientist, as a future scientist, hopefully, I ask myself on a daily basis what science is and how to make it accessible. And I guess during pandemic, this is really important. And in the future, also climate change is happening already, and we need to make science accessible to everyone. And I deeply believe that science is made or can be made by anyone and is for everyone. And therefore, festivals like these are our opportunity to celebrate science and knowledge and to foster our curiosity. And I'm joining Gavin in declaring this year's festival open.
Well, thank you very much, Zara. Thank you very much, Gavin. And with the festival now open, we'll very shortly welcome our first speaker of the day, Professor Karen Johnson, who will speak about rebuilding the soil. For this, we'll move now to a different online link, which is on YouTube and the festival website, and we hope that you will join us there.